All right, we are live. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm Samantha Studebaker Carl, your host, broadcasting to you live from beautiful Southwest Georgia. I'm here with my good friends Dan and Donna and Katherine and Sandy. And Jason is out in California. I don't know if he's going to be able to jump on and get a good signal or not. And I'm not sure about Danielle. And Christina, unfortunately, had to work, so that's no fun. But either way, we missed them all, and we hope that that you guys who are watching will get some great value out of this show today. Before we get started, though, let me just tell you a little bit about what we do here. This is, if you know, just in case you're brand new and you've never watched this before, we get together every week. This is just kind of like a mastermind discussion, and we talk about different books. Right now, we're talking about the book "What to Say When You Talk to Yourself" by Shad Helmstetter. And we've kind of talked about a few different things. We've discussed how to recognize some of the self-talk that you do that causes behavior that is undesirable. And we've talked about how that happens, where it comes from, the different levels, or not the different levels, but we've talked about where am I at in my notes here? We've talked about how self-talk influence our self-image and how that influence on our self-image can make a big difference in the way that we act in our lives and the things that we produce as far as our level of success, how well we get along with other people, and all of those kinds of things. So if you're interested in learning about what we previously talked about, you can watch any of our replays, which is at replays.saturdaymorningmastermind.com. Today what we're going to talk about is the 5 levels of self-talk, how to recognize the negative ones, begin crafting self-talk that will help you begin working for you versus against you, right? So let's see here. I just want to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves, and for those of you who are watching, comment out there on our page, which is SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. If you go to that URL, you'll be able to jump in on the conversation on our live event page. So again, that's SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. So if you're watching this anywhere other than that and you make a comment, we probably won't see it. So, oh, I forgot to post the YouTube link. So while I'm doing that, go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys.
No one wants to jump out. Hi, I'm Dan Smith. I'm from Boise, Idaho. Got an absolutely beautiful day going on here, and hope it's nice where you're at. And I'm looking forward to the discussion today, so welcome everyone.
Good morning, Sandy Root here in sunny, hot Miami, as always, and great chapter, so I'm looking forward to the discussion today. It was a really good chapter.
Good morning. I'm Katherine Clement here in Boulder, Colorado, and it is a beautiful day here today. I'm excited about this chapter. Everybody has spoken so highly about this book, and the first couple of chapters I was like, oh, I hope it steps up a little bit. So it really it did that in this chapter, so I'm excited about that. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Good morning, Donna Allen, Raleigh, North Carolina, and I was kind of thinking the same thing, Katherine. Yes, I'm looking forward to the discussion. This book is amazing.
Awesome, awesome. Isn't that so frustrating, Donna, the reflection on the glasses? I have that issue a lot. Of course, I have to be able to see what my notes are here, so I have to leave them on. So, okay, so anyway, welcome everybody who's watching. Welcome Julia, Karen, BG. Let's see who else said they were going to be here. Okay, so well, either way, go ahead and just comment on page when you jump in here and join us. Let us know you're hanging out with us. We really would I'm stumbling over my words there. We'd love to have you join the conversation. So if you have a thought as we're going along in this talk, then share it on the page. And we can discuss your insights as well, because the whole reason for us doing this mastermind every week is so that we can all come together and learn more, gain insights, and just overall make improvements in our lives. You know, we've been doing this for gosh, it's been almost 2.5 years now, and we've had tons of great people that have given us testimonials that have said, how this has helped them. And so if you see if you have a friend who thinks that these masterminds would help, then go ahead and share this information with them. Okay, so let's get started on this conversation. So this chapter, we are actually in chapter 9 of What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And this one talks about 5 different levels of self-talk. And of course, the first 2 levels of self-talk are the ones that work against you. And the next 3 levels are the levels that actually work for you. Now, what we usually do each week is we do a little pre-mastermind discussion. I ask a couple of different questions, and people can kind of jump in the conversation and say, what their thoughts are. So let's just kind of start the conversation today with those questions. We'll just start out with, what did you guys think was the biggest lesson, or what was the biggest takeaway for this chapter for you? And, go ahead and write that on the page, and then the folks that are on here, just who wants to jump out and share their insights first?
I'll jump out. One of the things that I never really thought about self-talk being in levels like that. I never split it in, put structure to it. And I thought that that was a good way of doing it, because one of the things that we tend to do with everything, I think most people do, is this either or sort of thing. So putting it in levels somehow took a little bit of that out of it. Like for me, one of the things that even though I hang around that 3, 4, 5 area most of the time, because, and I mentioned this in the pre-mastermind discussion, because of some of my physical challenges, I do catch myself with those ones saying, I can't travel, or I can't, whatever it is I want to do, because I really feel like I can't, So, but I have to quit saying that, because that's like totally horrible reinforcement for myself. And you manifest what you speak and what you believe. So reading this chapter and seeing them in the levels, I don't know, somehow it reminded me to say something more like, I can travel when my body allows, or whatever, something like that, putting a spin on it instead of I can't do something. I think it's it's good. Everybody goes through all these levels. It's not like one day you just never ever say a 1 again or whatever to yourself. I mean, this is a process, but I can say that since I started doing self-talk and reading some of these books and being on this mastermind, that there used to be a lot more of those 1s and 2s, and now I can really say that I'm really hanging out more at the higher levels, and it just comes from repetition, not just rote repetition. Like I don't really think you can just say these things 1,000,000 times a day and believe it. I think you really have to believe it in your heart, and feel it with your emotions. But at the same time, it takes that daily action of looking out for those things, catching yourself saying them, and then going to the self-correction.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump out. Part of what you're talking about there, Katherine, I mean, from my perspective, this is my personal belief, but when you talk about saying them 1,000,000 things and then that coming from your heart, it is the saying of those things that plants those things into your heart, if that makes sense to you. And from a scriptural standpoint, I've come to understand or believe that words are like seeds, and that the human heart is like the soil. And each time that you speak something, that you're actually planting words into the heart, into the soil. We call it the subconscious mind today, but it is a planting process. And so it's the speaking of something 1,000 times a day that actually creates what is called faith or belief or the understanding. It's I guess a way of looking at it is that when I was a little kid and I needed to learn my times tables for school, I didn't know how to study. Nobody had ever actually taught me. I don't think my mother knew how to study, okay, and how to actually teach yourself something. And so finally it just popped into my mind. It made sense to me. Well, I'll just go in my bedroom and I'll sit down with this times table chart and I'll just keep saying it over and over and over again. So it's 1 times 1 equals 1, 1 times 2 equals 2, and go through the 10s and up into the 12s. And I never went beyond the 12s, but so 1 through 12s, the memorization, and it was that speaking that actually put those times tables into my heart and into my subconscious mind. And so that was like in the 4th grade, I think, 3rd or 4th grade. And so today, I got to admit, with the invention of calculators and having a calculator close all the time, it don't always come quite as fast as I wish it did, but I can still go back to that time when I was in the 4th grade when I memorized my times tables, and 7 times 6 is 42 or whatever, and so it was that implanting that information into my heart, and that came from speaking it over and over and over and over again. And so it's that I was not even aware until my mid-20s that there was such a thing as self-talk. I just thought that the way you thought was the way that you thought. And I wasn't aware that you could actually change the way that you thought by premeditated forethought, or that you could write something down and choose to believe that. Okay, and so the same limitations that Katherine that you talk about. I injured my back when I was in my early 20s, and going to a chiropractor, and the chiropractor telling me all the things that I can't do, and so I got into this negative self-talk as well, that, well, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't compete with other people in this area, and so I had the same tendency to program myself with my own self-talk and tell myself all the things that I couldn't do. But it's really surprising that there was all these things that I just went and did that really my chiropractor would have told me, well, you can't do that, and yet I did them anyway. And so we choose the thoughts that we think. And one of the things I did put here in the mastermind and pre-mastermind is that there is a portion in the Bible that said, in Joel 3:10, it says, let the weak say I am strong. Let the weak say I am strong. And it's in regards to men going to war. And before the battle, before the war, they were instructed to tell themselves, I am strong. And it's talking about saying that out loud, speaking it with your own voice so that you can hear it with your own ears. I am strong. And I guess if you could imagine the United States Army, lining up all of its troops and say, okay, men, today we're going to go to battle. I want you to say over and over and over again today, I am a wimp. I am a wimp. Well, I don't think that we'd win the war. The instruction there is to say, I am strong. And that's something that's an act of your own will. It's something that you choose to say, you choose to believe, you choose to say these words until, thousands of times a day, if that's what's necessary, until you do program your own thinking, until you do reach that point, what's called faith, where you will go out and fight, fearlessly, actually believing that you are strong. And it's the same thing that we're doing here with the different things that we tell ourselves. I believe in myself. I believe in my abilities. I respect myself. I respect my opinions. I am strong. I am confident. I am bold as a lion. And it's speaking of those words thousands of times a day, where you do implant that, you impregnate an idea into your own consciousness. You do achieve what's called faith, and then you work on that faith, or work from faith. It's beginning with the end in mind. It's seeing yourself in your imagination the way that you actually want to be, and then speaking the words, and then walking into that until you actually step into the position that you have programmed yourself to become. So I'll turn it over to somebody else now.
And I would agree with you that I think we're all different personality types, and different things work for different people. And for me personally, I could say something 3,000 times a day, and it could never touch my heart. So for me personally, saying it even one time a day, but consistently, with true belief in my heart, is more I understand, like, about learning things with repetition, like with the multiplication tables. Absolutely, you know, you can learn stuff rote like that. But I think I'm talking more about manifestation and really, I don't know. I just can't lie to myself. Maybe some people can, but it doesn't work for me.
Did you want to jump out, Donna?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I, yeah, okay. Well, it, all I can say is please forgive me a little bit this morning for whoever's watching this and on the panel, but I'll be okay. We truly, I believe in the manifestations of both the negative and the self-talk, and in this one chapter, let me just say this is the one that stood out to me when I read it yesterday, and may I read this little quote? This is the one that put the pop in me, so to speak. And by the way, 5 is my favorite number. I like the number 5. That's magic, number 5. You get over to the half part of 5, you're on your way then. Okay. This is the one that got me. The self-talk gives each of us a way to change what we like to change. I like that word. Even if we haven't been able to do so in the past. I like that word too. I like the past. Got to go back and connect them dots of the past. It offers us the chance to stop being the old self. I love that. And start becoming a different, better self, in which is no longer the product of conditional response, but governed instead by personal choice. I love that one. I love that one. It's almost like, and I'm a hush, it's almost like it's just crazy to me. It's weird to me how I never heard of this book in my life. Never heard of this Dr. Shamhead. I can't pronounce his name. That's another negative word. It was impossible at one time to pronounce his name. I'm learning to change some of this speaking habit here. But it's almost like, I don't know, I'm in the manifestations. Let me go ahead. I think you all know where I'm going with this one because I love the brain. The brain will help us if we'll let it. I love it. I love it. Okay.
You're awesome, Donna. Thank you. You're giving me giggles. So yeah, I'll hop out. Yeah, I had said in the pre-mastermind chat, I think, you know, over the past couple of years, I've definitely been more in the 3 and 4 level. But like Katherine said, you know, I really liked how it was broken down like this. Like Katherine said, you know, I never saw this, so it was interesting. And it sort of opened my eyes to level 2 about I need to and I should, realizing places where I do that. And, you know, there's still, of course, those can'ts come in every once in a while. But I think I catch myself nowadays when I say I can. I'm able to really catch myself and be aware of those moments right away, more so now than in the past. But that I need to, I should, I was, you know, that I was like, oh, wow, you know, I really do still say that a lot about things. Like, I think he had an example in the book about getting organized. You know, I think I say that to myself a lot, like I should get organized and I need to get organized. But I liked how he pointed out when you're saying that, you know, if you add on to the end, but I'm not, you know, when we say those shoulds or need to, it means that we're not actually doing it. We're just saying I should, but not actually ever doing it. So transforming those shoulds and I needs tos into the other levels, the 3 and 4 levels. So that was eye-opening for me, that part. And I like what you said, Katherine, about feeling it in your heart when you say it. I think that definitely makes a big difference in just like repeating something in our head. Of course, our subconscious catches on over time when we're repeating something in our head, but when you have that heart feeling, it's amazing what manifests when you're actually feeling it as well. And I also liked, who was it? It was Marlene. Hi, Marlene. She wrote, I love the I am self-talk as it is God in action to me. And I love that. I'm reading a book from Neville Goddard right now, and there's a lot about that. That I am is that God, that universe that we're speaking inside of us. So I like that comment. That's it for now.
Everybody's made some great points, and I liked how you were kind of talking about that repetition, Dan, with the times tables, and then also, Katherine, you brought up the whole point of, what you believe inside of yourself, and so we're talking about that intention that is behind those things that you say. So if you have the intention that you're going to learn the times tables, and you keep repeating them over and over and over and over and over again, then you're going to learn them a whole lot easier than, say, a child who's just forced to do that, right? And so I think that it's really important to remember that it's that intention, that desire, the choice that you're making that makes a huge difference in the things that you say. If you believe it, then it's going to be true regardless of what the words are. And, and that's, with Sandy when she's talking about the I am statements, when you say I am, that means that's basically you making that declaration to the universe of whatever comes after I am. So that's super important. But one thing that kind of came up for me when reading through this chapter was, it was just really, really interesting. It's one of the things that I didn't even realize that I was doing. I mean, at the time, I'm like just doing it, and and things are happening and whatnot. But when it was talking about changing the way that you speak and saying the I am statements to kind of invoke that in your life, if you will, and it was also talking about how it can happen slowly over a long period of time, depending on how significant your programming was up until that point. So I wanted to kind of give an example because it mentioned smoking in here, and I know that a lot of people have had difficulty quitting smoking because they don't want to quit, right? And you think you've got to have this desire to quit. And I also kind of wanted to address the side of it as, a lot of times we've heard about affirmations maybe not being effective because you don't believe them behind, whatever it is that you're saying, and so they don't become effective. When, I started smoking when I was like 13 years old, and smoked for a lot of years. And when I got pregnant with my daughter, I decided I was going to be a non-smoker. I just flat out said, I just started saying I'm a non-smoker. I had that desire to become a non-smoker, and and started saying that to myself. I just anytime anybody asked me, do you smoke, I'd be like, I'm a non-smoker. Now the reality was that I did stop smoking, but I would keep having these cravings, and I would, occasionally have a cigarette, and, at certain times of the year I'd be even more interested in smoking because, it's all beautiful outside. I would go outside, and smoking was kind of like a thing. It was about going outside and having a cigarette and relaxing and whatever else, So I still had these cravings, and for many years it was back and forth. I was, sometimes I would smoke, sometimes I wouldn't, and it went back and forth for a lot of years, but I still kept saying I'm a non-smoker. And, and of course, we have these thoughts, hold on a second. Sorry, I just dropped my phone. Where it's all a matter of what you believe inside of yourself. Now, it may not be 100% true that I was a non-smoker, right? I still was smoking off and on, but I kept saying that over and over and over again to myself, not as a statement per se, but as an intention in the universe of who I was. And eventually I stopped entirely, and I haven't smoked in a lot of years now, and I don't have any desires for it anymore, whereas I used to. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up as far as that, putting that intention behind those statements that you say, even if they're not true right now. If you truly believe in your heart that that's what you're becoming, that's what can make the difference there. So so Julia's got a comment she posted on here, and by the way, thanks Julia for adding to the pre-discussion as well. Julia says, how does someone at level 1 become aware of how they are negatively speaking about themselves if they do not have support? I personally didn't realize I was doing it because it was something that I picked up as a child and it seemed normal. It took an outside factor to make me realize what I was doing to myself. You know, and that's a powerful thought right there, because I think that is a huge thing with a lot of people, is they're not aware of it. I was reading something just recently where it was talking about that, and I don't remember what I was reading, but anyway, it made this statement. It was talking about when Jesus was on the cross, and he said, you know, don't blame them or don't be upset with them. They know not what they do, right? And this kind of holds true with a lot of people throughout our lives, is that, you know, we have negative people in our lives. They don't even realize what they're doing, and even if you bring it to their attention, they don't even realize it, because you have to consciously decide that you want to improve yourself and then go about finding ways, right? So like this mastermind is one of the ways that we all work on improving ourselves, and by reading books and listening to audios and going to seminars and all of these different things, is those are ways that we begin to recognize those things. And just like when Sandy was talking just a couple of moments ago, where she says, I thought that I was more on these 3, 4, and 5 levels, and then I realized, oh, I still do a couple of these things from level 2 or level 1, and it isn't until you read the books or listen to the audios or go to a seminar or any of those kinds of things that you start to recognize the things that you're doing to yourself. And that's when you take those steps to make the changes. And I liked how Donna recognized right in the middle of her statement where she said, I can't pronounce this name, and she's like, there I am, I'm saying it. That's how you do it. You recognize it as you go along, and you've had all this time in your life where you're in these habits of doing things, and if you don't read books or study personal development, you'll never even know, right? But once you start doing that, that's when you begin recognizing those things. Okay, so who else wants to jump out? We'll just go from there. We can't hear you, Dan.
How about now? Am I good? I'm just going to go on the assumption you can hear me. That was really what I was talking about a little while ago. Or trying, I don't always probably express myself the way I'd like to express myself, but what you was talking about, quitting smoking, and that's what I was really alluding to, is this story here where the person was quitting smoking, but he would light up a cigarette, or he or she, whatever, would light a cigarette and at the same time be saying, I don't smoke. And let's see, I can't remember all it says here, but anyway, there's like 3 things. I'm a non-smoker. I enjoy not smoking. I have quit. And at the same time, you got a cigarette in your hand, smoking the thing. And so you can make the argument that person was lying to themselves, or you can make an argument that they are stepping into a new reality. And from my perspective, that's what it's doing. It's in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 1, it says that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, or faith is the assurance of things hoped for. And so you have the assurance, or you have the hope of something being true in your life. It's not true now, but how are you going to change that? Well, you begin taking steps towards that. And one of those steps is changing your self-talk. And I'm probably thicker than most people are, so I probably have to say it. I have to probably work 100 times harder than most people in order to change the thinking that I have. And so you have this ideal out here in the future, this future person that you want to be, the things that you want to be true for yourself. And I was a smoker at one time. I started smoking around 13, and I quit in my mid-20s. And I remember going through almost the same thing that what you're talking about, Samantha, that I wanted to be this non-smoker, and yet here I was smoking. And I began saying those types of things, that I was a non-smoker. And it wasn't true yet, but it was going to be true. But I had to walk into it, and that took time. And so if you want to be a big leader in the home business network or marketing industry or whatever, and you're not that now, so how do you get from where you are? You're at point A, you want to go to point B. How do you get there? how do you close the gap? How do you turn into the person that you want to be? And I think that the question that Julia answered, or asked up here in the notes here, how do you recognize that you are this person, that you're using level 1 or level 2 self-talk? How do you even recognize that such a thing exists as these 5 different levels? Well, you have to become aware of it first of all, and through maybe reading a book like what we're reading here, and then you have to begin speaking that thing. And is it true of you now? Oh, probably not. But how are you going to make that transition? How are you going to go from being where you're at point A to point B without making these changes, without speaking these things to yourself, without visualizing it in your mind, and beginning with the end in mind, seeing yourself in the perfect state, the person that you want to be? How else are you going to make that transition? It begins with your self-talk, and then it begins with the visualization and seeing yourself and making the I am statements. I am a non-smoker. I am a non-smoker. And in the meantime, you're lighting up, a cigarette or a reefer or whatever. I mean, whatever. It makes no difference what it is. Outside of smoking, not even talking about smoking, talking about any one of 1,000 other things that are not true in your life that you want to be true. How are you going to make that transition from point A to point B? It begins with verbally saying I am statements. I am this person. I am a leader in the network marketing industry, even though you're not at the time. And then speaking it, and then taking the time to visualize yourself living in that state. And then you move into action. Your body moves into action. You take the actions it takes to become that person. And one day you wake up and say, oh my gosh, I am what I set out to be. But it's a transition, and it is like planting seeds. And there's a gestation period. When you plant a seed, you plant it in the soil, and then it begins to sprout, and then it begins to grow, and then it turns into whether it's corn or wheat, it turns into that product, and then it produces that product. It produces a head of corn or a head of wheat. But there's a period of time where it has to grow. And that's what we're doing here, is we are making the choices of what we want to be, and that's a conscious choice that you make. You set your sights on that. You begin speaking positive affirmations, I am statements, and moving towards that. You visualize that in your mind, then you take the actions, and then one day you wake up to the fact, wow, I am today what I set out to be. So I'll turn it over to someone else.
That's the most amazing part. Oh, sorry, Donna. Come on out, honey. Okay, you're after me, though. You're coming out. That's the most amazing part, is it kind of sneaks up on you. If you will just be consistent, whether you're saying it 1 time a day or 1,000 times a day, just say it every day. That's the point. And sooner or later, all of a sudden you look around and you're like, wow, all these things are manifesting around me. I do want to take a minute here to go back to the subject of smoking and congratulate everybody here. I know I started smoking when I was 8, and so congratulations to everybody here on the panel that has given up habits like that one. Yay for us. All right, Donna, come on out.
Yes, I agree with Katherine. I tried to start smoking, but it didn't work with me. And I assume if I would have kept on going, I would have created, acquired the habit. There it goes back, that habit. But yeah, Julia's question got to me too. Self-development, guys, is really, a lot of times out here on the internet, it's really it comes with a paycheck attached around it. But apart from the paycheck, here's what helped me. Probably about 2 years ago, whether anyone's seen this or not, but the struggle with me was I literally thought, now come on, laugh with me, cry with me, whatever I'm just real, because I got to the point where here comes one of them negative words, but it's a healthy negative word. I really got tired of fighting with me. I was fighting with my brain. Oh my God, for 50-some years I fought with my brain in a way, but as I got a little bit in mature adulthood here, the last 5 years, there goes that 5 again. Oh my God, there's something about the 5. The 5 years is where you can hear, like Katherine said earlier, and different ones, you can hear this many times, over and over and over, repetitive. But coming alongside with other people is what is what helped me, because you might hear it from someone over here and hear from, but then, 2 years ago, I picked up a book called, you probably read the book Beach Money by Jordan Adler. Well, the title, don't be deceived by the title, or don't let the title fool you. Awesome book. That's kind of when it just kind of started dribbling off on me, like, Donna, you're not crazy, I thought I literally was going crazy in my mind. I was like, I'm not. I'm not crazy. I was saying I'm not crazy. I'm not. That's what helped me, was when I started saying I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. If you ever heard people say, I feel like I'm going crazy. So when I read that book, and then that just helped it for me, and then I just started the process on and on, and then it's just life. And Julia asked an awesome question. You will recognize it when you seek for the truth of why these questions and why these unfeelings comes in your brain. It'll start coming when you seek for the truth of what's going on. Why is this? Why all of the negative? Oh, I'm just working hard. I'm going to take this book and just keep it beside me as close as I possibly can, and to remind myself, because yes, life will come in and knock you down now, and sometimes you just have to remember, check yourself, because we are strong human doings and human beings, and we need each other. We need the support of each other. We need that energy. Anybody ever say this, and I'm a hush, anybody ever say they don't need nobody, they don't need nobody outside of their little pond, they're sadly mistaken. Sadly mistaken.
Good point, Donna. I think I actually used to be like that when I was a kid. I just was like, I don't need anybody. I don't ever want anybody supporting me or anything. I was just like, I'm strong and independent, and I don't need anybody. But no, we totally need each other. It makes the world a better place when we allow others in. Dan, when you were talking, it made me think, I've shared this on other Hangouts for sure, that, that I used to be shy, and it took me saying I am in a different way, because I always, growing up, said, I'm so shy, I can't talk to people, this and that. And that people would say that about me too, you're so shy. And so it was just, I am this. That's how I thought of myself. And it took me looking at that and saying, you know what, I can be something different, and saying I am confident, I can talk to people, I can do this, and getting to that point where it started becoming who I was, because I kept saying it to myself and changing that shyness into a confident person who can go out and talk to people and be social. And I got to that point where I can be that now by saying that and stepping out into that, and then getting that feedback. I've said this before, once you becoming that, you start to get different feedback, and it becomes easier for you to become that. So it goes along with what you're saying as well, Donna. So good points, everybody. Awesome. Mm-hmm.
I love that point, Dan, that you brought up about, if you want to become a leader in network marketing, or whatever it is that you're wanting to, become a leader in. And I wanted to bring this up because I see a lot of people doing things to make some big changes in their lives, and I love it. And I just want to help everybody kind of get an understanding, because when you first decide that you want to do something, you probably have all this negative chatter in your head telling you can't do it, all the reasons why you can't do it. And when you decide that you're going to make this big step, or make this change, or become this person that you want to be, you have to, decide inside yourself this person that you want to become. And, for example, when we first started this mastermind, I thought, okay, I'm going to start this mastermind, and of course it was just me, and I pulled a couple of folks together, and I was like, hey, let's do this thing, and in my mind I just want to help people. I just want to work on my own personal development. I want to help other people work on their personal development, and it kind of started out as just this little mastermind, right? Well, I could have said, oh, I can't do that, I can't get in front of the camera, I can't get on live, I can't do broadcasts. I could say all of those different things if I had allowed myself to do that, and if I had, then of course we wouldn't be here now, right? But, over time, because I kept saying to myself that I'm a person who helps other people work on their personal development, I help other people come together and work on their personal development, help them have insights and all those kinds of things. Those are the things that I was saying to myself. That's what it's become. And then, you know, and I have a future vision for what this can be as a global community. And so I keep saying that's what it's going to become. Is it right now? Not yet, right? It wasn't at the beginning, but as it went along, it grew and grew and grew, and more people are being interested in it, more people are being affected by it, and that's how it works, guys. I mean, that's the thing, is that, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's true right now. What matters is what you want to have happen, and if you take the steps to keep telling yourself. And here's another thing. You don't have to say it constantly. It's not like you have to remember to tell yourself. It's just you have to set that intention in your head, and when doubts pop up, that negative stuff pops up, that's when you say, nope, this is what I am. This is what I'm working on. This is what I'm going to become. This is, you know, that kind of thing. So that's important. Now, I do like, Julia, what you mentioned in the pre-mastermind discussion, to remind yourself. Julia said that she posts a statement, or she wrote a statement on a piece of paper and posted it on her medicine cabinet so she would remember it every day. And here's, you know, this is kind of one of those things too, is when you first decide you want to make a change, maybe you kind of, you thought it one day, and then you have these doubts come in, you kind of forget it. And I think it's a great thing to put those statements up where you can remind yourself on a daily basis when you first get started. But once you get that in your head, then all you have to do is remember to say those things when the negative stuff pops up. So because I don't just go around saying all day long, I'm going to be this, influencer, worldwide influencer. And so that's not what I'm just going around saying. But anyway, okay, so we've got a few comments. I just want to read some of these comments that people are writing on our page here. And by the way, if you just jumped on, feel free to add into the conversation. And I don't know where you're watching, but if you want to be a part of it, jump to SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. That's our main live event page where everybody is discussing this. So BG says, I agree, Samantha and Dan. I started doing it this week with I no longer overeat, and I caught myself when I started to, just by saying it. That's awesome, BG. And I want to congratulate you also for your video series that you started just recently. The I know I'm going to say this right. It's best quote you ever wrote, guys. You can look for that hashtag, best quote you ever wrote. BG just started this series where she's getting quotes from different people in our industry and sharing them through video and images, and I think that's just powerful. I'm sure that you've got a statement, maybe something that you're saying to yourself about you can do that. What maybe tell us what your intention is with that, BG. We'd love to hear what you're telling yourself. Marlene says, I am also reading this book, The Power of Neuroplasticity, where he delves deeper into this area and the science of the study of neurons and how our brain works. That's awesome, Marlene. Thanks for sharing that book with us. I love learning about new books that can help us study on the same subjects, because, of course, the more that we learn about these things and how they work, the more that we become convinced that we can make those changes. So that's awesome. And welcome, Sandy. We're glad you're here. It doesn't matter that you're late. That's all right. Okay, and then Dan put a Proverbs 16:23, a wise person's thoughts control his words and his speech promotes instruction. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so let's see, we're scrolling up here. All right, who else wants to jump out and share?
Marcia had mentioned something, where is it? I find that if I make a point to start my day off with intentions of being grateful for the first thing in the morning, I'm more mindful of the rest of my day and what I say to myself. And I love that, because I found that to be true. You know, if I take time in the morning to really be grateful, and even to just fill myself with love and gratitude, that feeling, and even to just acknowledge myself and my self-love. I think so many people just get up and run and don't even thank the day for being alive again, or, acknowledging our body and our aliveness. And I find when I do that, and really give myself time to love myself in the morning, you do catch yourself, and you create a relationship with yourself where you're nurturing yourself, you're loving yourself, and what you're thinking in your mind, you want to keep that in line with your self-love, and like you would for a child or somebody that you care about, giving that to yourself, and you can find major transformation in that way. So I love that comment. Thanks, Marcia. And I'm reading this book from Neville Goddard. It's The Complete Reader, like a compilation of all his books. And there's a quote in there I read yesterday. I'm going to go find it, so I'll say it before we end.
Great. It's almost like folks can, you ever heard the saying, "Boy, you read my mind." I hope that's not out of context here, but it's almost like when I read that, and then Sandy comes back and she ponders on it. Yeah, loving yourself. My goodness gracious, folks, that's where it starts too. Is that loving yourself, and then Christina, she talks about that book a lot, and I definitely want to get into that one too. Pay me what I'm worth, because people think that book is about the money, but you see, that's where it all starts. And you get up in the morning, and then and Samantha said early on, you don't have to constantly repeat yourself in repetitions, but things will come along in life, and it will remind you, hey, you gotta get this thing back in line, and then all of a sudden it just gives you that. There goes back to that shock in the brain. You got to pull it together, and that's why these groups here are so. Samantha, I commend you for starting this group. One more time, I have to say it, and then yes, and also I have BG doing this. What she's doing there, it blindsided me in a good way. I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? Now, folks, if you see, I didn't make that poster. I didn't do anything but just open my mouth and say a quote, because I ain't going to say I don't know how. I can learn how, but I don't know how to do what BG's doing, but that's good enough for me. BG's doing it. It's okay. She's done it, put it out there in the universe. That's good enough for me. Everybody's got something to give. Everybody's got a talent to give. All right. I love it. I love it. I'm through.
I wanted to talk about the how to recognize what you're doing just a little bit more. In this part where it's talking about the level 2 and how some of the things that you might say to yourself is, I'm not statements, or I need to but I'm not, or I ought to or I should, or those kinds of things. The thing it says at the end of that section, it says the level 2 self-talk creates guilt, disappointment, and an acceptance of your own self-image inadequacies. And so I wanted to kind of bring that up, because sometimes what happens, at least in my experience, is that you'll have these feelings of guilt and disappointment in yourself, or frustration, or you're mad at yourself because you aren't doing whatever it is that you think that you should be doing. And without realizing it, maybe we are saying those things to ourselves in kind of a, not necessarily the words, but we're saying them to ourselves as feelings, right? All of a sudden you realize you're not doing what you think you ought to do, and then you have this feeling, this emotional feeling of unpleasantness. And so when you can begin to recognize those feelings of guilt, or frustration, or any kind of negative feeling that brings you down, is to examine that feeling and be like, okay, where's this feeling coming from? Because a feeling is an indicator. And so when you get that indication that you're feeling in a negative vibration or a negative feeling, then it will be easier for you to recognize those self-talk that may not be in word form. It may just be a feeling, and you can turn that around too by just changing what you're. Stop feeling guilty about it. It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has some kind of negative self-talk that's happening in their lives, or self-feelings that are not so good, and we're all working towards making changes in our lives. And when you can allow yourself to be okay with, I made a mistake, or I'm not doing what I thought I was supposed to do, or I haven't made the changes I ultimately want, it's okay to have been that thing, or be that person, or exist in that way, or be negative. It happens. It's part of life. Now you're taking the step, and you're making the choice that you want to change. And when you can be okay with the mistakes, then you can start working on those things to make a better future for yourself. And that's a huge thing right there, because I think a lot of people just can't get out of this wallowing self-pity side because they think that's where they're supposed to be, you know, that because they probably had people in their lives that have told them all this negative stuff about them and they're never going to amount to anything, or you know, you can't do this, you can't create a business, that's bad, you know, or you know, you should get a real job or do all these things. So you have all these negative stuff that people are trying to make you feel guilty about these things. And it's okay to make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can make changes if you choose to. So that was all I wanted to say about that.
I think that you can tell we're in a mastermind because we're all like piggybacking. I mean, you said exactly what I was going to say. That's how you catch yourself, is the way you feel. So many people's minds are on autopilot and they're just running those programs constantly, which is why the repetition helps, Dan, is to override that, what's already going on there. But the thoughts come and they don't even recognize the thought, but the feeling. When you get that feeling, if you're always in tune in the moment with where you're at and how what your comfort level is in your body, if you have some of that negative stuff going on, you're going to feel it. You know, you're going to feel the anger, you're going to feel the frustration. And like you said, you know, you can't judge yourself on that. That's one of my things about the saying something thousands of times a day, because I was with a group of people that really promoted that, and there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying I witnessed people who were unable to fulfill that, and then they were judging themselves over not saying their self-talk thousands of times a day. You know, so you really just need to monitor where you're at and take these, you know, everything works a little differently for everybody. Take what works for you. Figure out what works for you and do that. That's all.
You know, there's trying to figure out how to put it into words. I heard a saying years ago that you get what you are, not what you want. And can be a disconnect between what you're seeing, what you're visualizing that you want, and other things that have been programmed into your subconscious mind. And those things that have been programmed in your subconscious mind may have been put there 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50 years ago. And a lot of what you are today was set by the time you were 5 years old, believe it or not. And so you got negative programming that was put into your heart as a 5-year-old, that in my case, I'm 61 years old now, but things that was programmed there when I was 5 are still battles that I'm fighting today. And I've really had to spend a lot of time the last 2-3 years really digging deep into my own heart, into my own mind, and trying to dig out things that were put there as a child, and then asking myself, what were my parents going through at the time when they put this stuff into my mind, and what were their parents going through before them, you know? And so how many generations back do you need to go and to begin to dig out ideas that have been implanted into your subconscious mind that are still controlling you today, that you didn't put there, somebody else placed them there. But you have to ask yourself, is that true? And so there's been so many things. I mean, really, I've been rebuilding myself for several years now, and really working hard at rebuilding myself, because there is so much crap that I have inside of me, and that's all it is pure BS. It's crap, okay? And yet the disconnect between the person that you want to be and where you see yourself as being today, and what stands between where you're at today and where you want to be, is all this pre-programming and all these thoughts that have been implanted into your subconscious mind when you were a child, or even today from newspapers, the news on television, things you read on the internet, things that different people say. And the conscious mind has the ability to accept or to reject a thought. But if you just leave yourself open, then you're open to anything that comes in. And then if you begin to dwell on that and entertain that thought, then that sinks into your subconscious mind, and that takes control of you. So it's a matter of of seeking out the things that you want to implant into your mind, and really digging out the things that is nothing more than BS that you grew up with, and saying, okay, is this true? And if it's in my subconscious mind, how did it get there? And what do I need to do to dig it out and to dispose of it properly? Okay, it's like toxic thoughts. You got to get rid of them just like toxic waste. Okay, and so basically that's what I think that we're all here to do, is to dig out the thoughts that we don't want there, recognize them to begin with, ask where did they come from, what do I have to do to dig that up and get that out of my mind, and then so that I can put the good stuff in, what I want to keep. So I'm done.
One quick final thought on before the train comes real quick. I say just push, push, relax. Catherine would agree. Relax when it's coming. Relax. Tell yourself it's okay. Get over it. Keep moving, and you'll be fine.
I want to share what BG put on the event page here real quick, guys. Oh, and Marlene put something on there too, right? Okay. Okay, so BG says, the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruits. Proverbs 18:12. It starts for me as a legacy for my children and grandchildren, teaching them how powerful our words are. Words lift me up, and I want to take those powerful quotes of others and use everyone's words to lift others up. We want to use those powerful things, words for me, in everyone's lives to benefit all. This was just a 30-day challenge to get better at something I am uncomfortable with, and that was that was video. The quote thought came about from a friend of mine. Thanks, everyone. That's awesome, BG. I'm so glad to see that you're doing that, and I think it's a really amazing video series and quote series. So, guys, you can find her quotes and videos in our mindsetmasterycollective.com. That's our community over in Google+. Marlene says, Bob Proctor quote, the starting point for all change is when we change the dominant beliefs that we have been limiting our awareness. My thought is we believe it, think it, and state the beliefs over and over. With the awareness of what we are saying and believing, we can lift the lid of the limiting belief, and we can create what we either take the good part of or leave it behind. Absolutely, Marlene. Thanks for sharing that quote from Bob Proctor. Awesome, guys. Does anybody else have anything they want to add before we wrap up for today? We're right at the top of the hour.
I just want to thank everyone for the wonderful quotes, comments, and participating. And it's so wonderful to see everyone back every week. We really enjoy your participation. That's what makes us. That's why we're here. So we're just so grateful to have you all. And BG, I am like Donna. I'm just blown away with your series, and I highly recommend everyone go check out, get on her YouTube channel. She's got she's highlighting some amazing people over there, and I'm certainly honored to be part of it myself. So I just, self-love, Sandy, you said it. It's about self-love, you guys. And Dan, your words, is it true? That's really, when these things come up, you just have to ask yourself, is it true? Is that really true? Because most of the time it's not. It's just some BS programming, like you said, something that's haunting us a little bit. And I don't know how much you have to dig into it. I just know that you have to recognize it for what it is and let it go. Set your intention for where you want to be and keep your focus there. And let the past be the past, So thank you, everyone, for coming. Really, really, truly appreciate it. Have a great week.
I had found a couple things in this book that I'll just quote from real quick. From Neville Goddard. I think you were saying something about time before Katherine or somebody. I don't know, but it made me think about this. Like, a lot of times I think there's an argument that, if we're thinking about our desires or how we want to change, we're like living in the future all the time rather than enjoying the present moment. But I love what he says here, because it's like all of it's present moment. The future is present moment. He says, what we desire does not lie in the future, but in ourselves at this very moment. At any moment in our lives, we are faced with an infinite choice. What we are and what we want to be. And what we want to be is already existent, but to realize it, we must match our inner speech and actions to it. So it's like all the infinite possibilities are here always in the present moment. Every future possibility we are thinking about is present and is possible in every moment. So that just like boggled my mind yesterday when I read it. And this book is amazing, and the chapter I read yesterday was so in line with this chapter that we're reading now. And I'll just one little quote here that he quotes from Quintilian. Our minds, like our stomachs, are whetted by change of food. I like that. That's it. Thanks for everybody for coming and the awesome comments on the page today. Great interaction. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Awesome, awesome, guys. Excuse me. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us this morning. We've all learned some awesome lessons here today, and we appreciate you being here with us. You can find us, of course, at mindsetmasterycollective.com. That is our Google Plus community. Let me repeat that: mindsetmasterycollective.com. And of course, you can follow us on Google Plus. You can like this video if you found it helpful. Share it with your friends. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And right before we go, though, I want to mention Neville Goddard once again. I'm going to post a link in our community with a bunch of resources for Neville Goddard stuff. I mean, he talks about a lot of this manifesting and becoming the person that you want to become through using the statements of I am and a technique called feeling it real, which is similar to visualization, except for it's much more powerful. So I'll share that resource in our community. And then last thing, I know Donna already jumped off. She probably had someplace she wanted to go. Hopefully she'll hear this, but I wanted to give you a big shout out, Donna, because I have noticed over the past few weeks that you keep jumping out more and more, and you're sharing more of your thoughts, and you're such a beautiful person. You have so much to offer. I'm so glad that that you're feeling more comfortable with us and adding more to it. So with that, guys, have a great, awesome, and amazing weekend. We'll see you again next week at SaturdayMorningMastermind.com, 10 a.m. Eastern. And that's it for now. Bye.